Welcome to another episode, Pound for Pound Box Report, episode 195. After taking a week off, we are back. I am your host, Michael. Joining me this week, Gail from Communities Digital News, Scorsese, Jacob from Jab Hook, Daniel from the Inscriber. What's going on, lady and gents?
Oh, good to be back.
Yep.
Indeed. For those who are new, once again to the Pound for Pound Box Report, if you're new, Pound for Pound Box Report, weekly YouTube show slash podcast and blog discussing all things boxing. Motto is if boxing is good, we will talk about it. If it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is if it concerns boxing, we will talk about it. Excuse me, I was eating right before the show, so my apologies. If you want to find out more information regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, the blog page is the place to go to. p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com is the link. You check the right of the blog page. Find links to the pages and channels on Facebook, YouTube, G+, Twitter, Tumblr. Yeah, that's all. There's also links to where to listen to the show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitch Radio, Player FM over in the UK, as well as Mixcloud. Let's get the show started this evening. Recapping not only what went down last week, but also a fight that took place while we were off. Start in women's boxing. Claressa Shields. She fought in Verona, New York this past Friday, last week on Friday. Fought a lady by the name of Tori Nelson in Verona, New York. Shields getting a 10-round win, won every round. Got to give Nelson credit. She showed to be, even though she's twice as old as Claressa Shields, she showed herself to be tough and quite competent in there. Even though Shields won every round, she dominated the fight. I came away almost just as impressed with Nelson and her durability, and she showed a little bit more skill than I thought. But it was Shields all the way. She moves to 5-0, 2 KOs. Christina Hammer, who was scheduled to fight on the undercard, but it didn't happen. She was in attendance. Showtime gave a very good interview with.
Oh,
Lost you, Michael. Still with us?
Yep. No, he dropped off.
No,
but
it dropped
lost him. Well, we'll take over. We'll step right in. He'll be right back, everybody. I'm sure he was about ready to get around to the panel, but Christina Hammer, who will ultimately be Shields' biggest test, was there present ringside. As he said, her fight on the undercard fell through. So that gave the Showtime crew plenty of time to talk to her, and she said all the right things, and she wants a big mega fight with Shields. She's a super popular, appealing fighter, speaks English beautifully, and that should be a good time. But first of all, to the fight, and I see that you are back, our host and fearless leader.
Yeah, it seems to be that there's a new setup here with G+ that I didn't talk about. So when I leave or minimize it, it cuts off for me. But proceed, Gail. I'm sorry.
Well, we're there. So we're talking about the fight. We've set it up, and I'll just plow right ahead. Very good outing for Claressa. Was it flashy? Was it spectacular? Was it, get out of your seat exciting? No, but that's exactly the kind of fight she needed. She needed work. She needed time under the lights in the ring where it counted to keep working on her craft as a professional. And that's what made me so happy about this fight, is seeing better performance from her, better punch selection, a lot more body work, which for the women is super important, perhaps even more so than for male fighters when they're doing 2-minute rounds, because it is really tough to knock somebody out when you've only got 2 minutes at a time to work with. Really tough. So you've got to do the body work and start wearing your opponent down round by round to have any chance of a knockout or a stoppage. So she was doing that very well. But damn, give it to Tori Nelson. She was no joke. Everyone assumed it was going to be a blowout. She's 41 years old. Claressa's 22. I mean, they pointed out several times that You know, she was literally old enough to be her opponent's mother. She was undefeated before this fight. And, you know, she suffers the problem that a lot of women fighters do. Lack of opposition, lack of opportunity to get in the ring. So, you know, you get to fight once a year, twice a year. You've got to hold another job. For a lot of these women, it's rough. But how thrilling for her to be in the main event on a nationally televised card. You know, for a lot of those women, that alone is a huge accomplishment. And man, Michael, you picked the right word, durability. Holy smokes. She got hit hard multiple times. You barely even wobbled her. Unfortunately, durability isn't enough. And either due to age or skill or rustiness, you know, she was just visibly slower, visibly smaller than Claressa. She was coming up in weight as well for the fight. You know, she did everything she could, but she simply didn't have the tools it took to win. So it was pretty much a shutout decision for Claressa, but really a good outing. And, you know, we're getting slowly set up for this eventual Shields-Hummer showdown. It won't happen anytime soon. And Shields is going to have to go down in weight to 154 to fight her.
Well, technically 160.
Well, technically, well, right. Well, 159 and a half. You know, and she's going to need a few fights to test herself at the lower weight. She seems to feel very confident that she'll make it fine and she'll do fine. But you don't want your first fight in a new weight to be against a gal like Hummer. No way. So, you know, we're going to see a few more fights before we see that ultimate showdown. You know, even on the women's side, the fights have to marinate, right? So, you know, yeah. Maybe by the end of the year, I think it's much more likely the beginning of next year.
Yeah, from my understanding is both they're gonna try to put together another card April with Shields and Hammer both fighting, and then the process will move towards having those two ladies fight summer, fall this year, or fall I should say this year. I'll go to the fellas here for those who saw the fights. Your thoughts on what went down, the performance of Shields, how Tori Nelson stood in there. Not only did she took it, she fought back occasionally. So again, before I was cut off, I was mentioning how impressed I was by that. So yeah, fellas, your thoughts.
Yeah, I got a question because I saw the weigh-in and Nelson. She looked slim. Like she wasn't the smaller of the two or anything like that. She was in shape. And then I don't watch much women's boxing, but she had this shirt on, and then she had something that looked. I asked this on Twitter. I got no response. It looked like she had a pouch on under the shirt or something. Am I wrong?
I didn't notice that. I didn't note that. Gail, Daniel, Jacob, did you note anything of that?
You know, I didn't notice anything. You're saying she had a pouch on?
It looked like because I saw the weigh-in and this woman didn't have any belly or anything, and then and my girlfriend's watching the fight with me. She says, "Is she in shape?" And I said, "Yeah, ain't no way you can make weight basically and not be in shape for the most part." And I told her, I said, I saw the weigh-in and she didn't have any stomach hanging over, but it looked like in this fight she had a shirt and some sort of, and I'm asking this for a reason. It looked like she had a shirt and some sort of pouch, not just a cup, but it. I'm looking at pictures, but they're very, very small. They're good quality, but they're just small images. And it looks like she has something.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a belt, almost like part of the trunk, like belt.
Yeah, you see it too.
Yeah. I think it's maybe some part of the lining, or like I said, part of the small part of the cup, or like the part that they wear around the cup, and just kept sticking out. Like I say, it happens a lot, unfortunately, in fights. We just won't notice it on the guys because it's a lot more prevalent because of the women. They have extra covering, but you don't notice it as much.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything riding up. I mean, you know, obviously the women's gear fits a little different than the guys down there, and there's a little more protection of the kind of the lower abdomen area, you know, where you get, you know, hitting the equivalent of what would be a problem for men, which for women is internalized. You know, you don't want to, that'd be a low blow, and it's a little more protective there. So I bet it was just riding up. She was clearly the smaller of the two women. I mean, naturally, you know, that's why the women, you know, jump weight classes a little more than the guys do, because they just can't get good fights at, especially when they get to a, you know, a fairly elite level in women's boxing. You know, you just don't have a lot of competition.
Well, I was asking because I saw the body work too, but I felt like she got used to the 1, 2, 3 upstairs, and she left. I felt like she knew she wasn't hitting the body; she was hitting something else, and it wasn't giving her the result she wanted, because she was slipping a shot and throwing something nasty to the body a few times. And I'm just like, damn. And I was like, where's that going? Keep doing that. You will get a stoppage. And I didn't want to see the other woman hurt, the Nelson woman, because I agree with y'all. It was points in that time. I'm like, yes, she is slower. She is not going to win this fight, but she definitely does look like she knows a little something about boxing. And I was, you know, I was rooting for that. That encouraged me. Like, yo, she's 40 years old. She's slipping shots every now and then. I'm like, what the hell? Like, you're supposed to be out of here by now, but she wasn't. But with Shields, it was, I was impressed with some of the shots she landed. The speed, the only thing I would take away, sometimes the punches aren't there, and she's forcing the 56 shot of the combination. She could shut it down some and just start over. But I definitely like the initial slip and then the body shot. Those was nasty. But I felt like she stopped simply because of that. What I'm talking about, it looked, maybe she wasn't just hitting all body and she didn't like the result of it.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but you know, and that's an interesting observation you made about the, you know, multiple punch series, you know, in the last few in the series, not getting much of anywhere. I think the pendulum has swung over for her because her training, you know, in her first few fights, she was throwing single shots, haymakers, and she's got to learn to fight in combination punching. So now that she's acquiring these skills, I think she's taken him out for a spin, you know, at the other end of the continuum, and you know, eventually she'll settle down, I think. But that's a very good observation.
Jacob, Daniel, your thoughts on the fight?
Just to echo what Gail was saying earlier, in the sense that, you know, I do believe that fighting in a gym or training in the gym isn't the same and doesn't prepare you for, you know, step up in competition. I think getting in the ring and just getting your timing down and getting hit and being able to connect and put things together, I think that's the ultimate, like, best way to get prepared. So I'm glad that she's been getting a consistent number of fights, and that she's been headlining, and that it looks like they're setting up a really good match that, you know, that can get a lot of people excited about boxing. You know, just boxing in general, you know, whether it's men's or women's. But you know, she does look like he's kind of adjusting more to the pro style versus the Olympic style. She can get a little overly aggressive at times, and I think, you know, maybe leave herself open. So I'd like to see her work on that. But overall, I think she got in the rounds and did exactly what she needed to do, and it was pretty much a shutout. And yeah, Nelson gets credit for, you know, taking a beating, but you know, hopefully, you know, based on that, her toughness, she'll get, you know, maybe a undercard fight and get other opportunities, because she was undefeated, and I know she's the older fighter. But as I think Gail was saying earlier, you know, the opportunities weren't there or as prevalent as it is now for women. Not that I mean, they still need more opportunities, but it's become easier as we've gone more into the future and they've got more exposure. So you know, it was good to see. You know, I'm a fan of Shields, and you know, I would like to see her get some big fights and be on the continue to be on the big stage.
Daniel?
It was a nice paced fight, and you can tell that her opponent maintains herself and probably stays a lot of times in the gym. We know she has a lot of other jobs on the side. You kind of have to, unfortunately, in the women's game, but maintain herself in the gym, maintain toughness, and maintain good movement throughout. And one thing I'm noticing when it comes to fights with Shields, they're pairing her pretty tough. They're not making it cakewalks where it's just going to be like early knockouts. They're making them work in. They're having her put rounds in. This is a great fight to put rounds in because it let Shields set up combinations. It let her work on feinting, work on her lateral movement a bit. Because Shields sometimes was on the ropes as well. But in the end, fought her way out of it. It was a good fight through. Like I said, I'm glad that her promoter, that she does have one, Sarita Promotions, is pairing her tough. And the only major disappointment in that area was the fact that Hammer wasn't in the ring at the same time. They were supposed to have her fight. I don't know what happened, but at least they were able to interview her, and they're still trying to build up to that fight. Because even when Barry Tompkins asked the question in the post-fight, because Tompkins or Farhood, which one? They immediately went to Christina Hammer, and they even mentioned that she might even go down even further. Instead of 160, go down to 154. Because after Hammer, we know there's Cecilia Brækhus. So they're setting up pretty easy goals for Claressa Shields. But this fight, she started working things really well. She started putting combinations better. And you can tell that now that she's putting in the work to last rounds. Granted, it's not 3-minute rounds like our good friend Gail here has long advocated, but I think we all pretty much can advocate for that at this point. But she's coming in to last rounds, not just tire herself out, which is a great thing.
On the undercard of Shields and Nelson, you had a bout between Jesse Hernandez or Ernesto Garza III. Hernandez won by unanimous decision over Garza. The reason I want to focus on this fight is because one, it was a very good fight. If you saw it. Two, it's bouts like these, and I've said this before, and I will reiterate now. It's bouts like these that, like this, I should say, that help sustain the sport. They are the lifeline of the sport, in my opinion. Fights between up and coming guys who are young, who are hungry, who are fighting to impress, and really fighting to make their mark on the sport. You can't help but enjoy bouts like this. It's fights like this that made, in my opinion, it helped make Tuesday night fights what it was for 20 plus years. It's what made ESPN boxing back in the 80s and the 90s. And if you're a hardcore fan, you thoroughly enjoy fights like this. Garza, I believe, scored a knockdown with a shot to the nose. I want to say in round two, at the end of round two, but Hernandez, he got up, fought hard, high action, very intense bout. That again, for me, I loved it. It was my fight of the weekend. I'll just open up for everyone here who saw the bout. If you saw the bout, your impressions of the bout. Am I overstating it by talking about fights like this and how important it is vis-a-vis the sport in large? Unmute your mics, everyone.
I don't want to dominate the conversation. Did nobody else see this fight?
I saw it. I'm just picturing how fun that fight was. Reliving. That was a fun fight. It wasn't just brutal. It wasn't brutal. It had great actual boxing involved. Garza, this is his second time on Showbox that I remember. I said both times he's lost, but in both losses, it made you want to see him again. He showed a lot of great heart, especially after Hernandez, after the knockdown, when Hernandez started to time him a little bit better and started to get back into the fight in the later rounds. Now, the fight was a split decision. It could have went either way. I would have been fine with a draw, but Hernandez to me edged it out a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, you said split, and you're right. I said unanimous. My apologies.
Mm-hmm. But it just shows you how good of a fight that is, and it's not only that keeps the sport alive; it keeps things like Showbox alive. Because right now in the U.S., Showbox we can pretty much say is the last readily relatable developmental platform that you have for boxing at the moment. That's not just run by a single promoter. We know Top Rank has their thing. We know Golden Boy has LA Fight Club. But that's their guys. Building up their guys. Showbox works with everybody. So it's good to have that platform.
You have kind of a critical mass of, kind of classics, old school, promoters in the northeastern United States, and they all sort of pile in, and they're all, places like Turning Stone and, some of the other properties used to be at Atlantic City when fights were taking place there. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all good. You've got to have those level of fights to give guys, just as we were saying with Shields, you can work in the gym all you want. And there is no comparison to getting in there, in the ring, on stage, under the lights, with everybody watching, the noise, all the stuff that goes with it. There's just no comparison. And it's fun to see these guys, when they're well matched at this level, go for it.
I'll add to that. I think one of the best things about going to a live event and getting there early is seeing people that don't have the name recognition, that are up and coming fighters, and putting it all on the line. And they leave it in the ring, and they don't have to worry. They're not worried about their perfect record or all these other little side things, or how much money they're going to make off sponsorship or whatever. It's all about the sport, and so they tend to put on very entertaining fights. Unfortunately, a lot of these undercards, they don't have a lot of people don't get to the fights early, and a lot of them don't stream the undercards. I know it's become now a more of a thing with some of the sites like Top Rank and Golden Boy, where they will do some streaming of that, and I think that's a good thing. But to me, if you watch a whole year's worth of boxing, and you watch all the fights on the undercard, you're going to see more so exciting fights on the undercards than you will on these marquee matchups that are sold to us to be, hey, this is going to be the next Hagler, Hearns, whatever. You'll see more of that on the undercards. So this is kind of what this was. It's a fun fight. And, I would love to see both of these guys again. Since it was a split decision, hopefully they'll have another opportunity to do that. But again, it also takes the support of the boxing fans out there to bring them up, to watch them, to support them, and get to your fights early, or some of these streaming services or cable networks, show these fights early. But Showbox is, in my opinion, HBO has fallen off a lot. They used to have that Boxing After Dark kind of program, but Showbox has always been consistent with their kind of like almost like a minor league of boxing. Not to say that these are minor league players, but they would showcase a lot. They were doing it like almost weekly and showcasing a lot of these lesser known fighters, and you see a lot of really great fights. So it's a really good thing, and I think Showtime is doing a great job of investing into boxing versus what HBO is doing.
Yeah, but Jacob, you don't want to give away the secret, because there's nothing to me more enjoyable than being one of 400 or 500 people in an arena that seats 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 people, and you feel the air conditioning circulating in the room and hear it. It's so quiet because it's just simply a big house with a few hundred of us there. And, it's like you've got a private audience going on in front of you. I love it. And you get to see the early outings of guys like Ryan Garcia, who was knocking guys out like crazy in front of virtually nobody, and someday, a year or two from now, we're going to say, yeah, I saw that kid in his 4th fight, in his 10th fight. And many others that are out there. It's really a joy. Same for some of the walk-off fights when all the rest of the crowd's left and TV's breaking down and there's still 3 or 4 fights to go. There's only a few hundred of you in the ring. I've never understood why people don't get to their seats, and get there and enjoy all the fights. But hey, half the time they're in the parking lot or in the bar. Or I get that. Fine, more for us.
Yeah, but I mean, to that point, Gail, it is nice, but in order for us to be able to further the sport, we have to get more eyes on it, and it's fights like this that are entertaining, and even for like the casual boxing fans, I think that's the only way that it's going to get them to consistently want to watch boxing versus being sold a big fight and then it becomes a dud. And then that kind of puts like a bad taste in their mouth, Oh,
I couldn't agree with you more. And I do like that so many more promoters and networks are streaming. Hey, they're set up to show the main event and a co-main and an undercard. What the hell? The equipment's there. The personnel are all there. You might as well make them work and show all the rest of the fights. And more people are getting used to that being available. So that's nothing but good for the sport too. And I'm certainly taking advantage of it every time I can.
Were you able to see the fight, Scorsese? And if so, what's your word?
I think I was watching. I don't remember what y'all remember though. I don't. I'm drawing a blank. Maybe I got to that telecast late. I think I may have got to it late. I can't remember.
Okay, it was about that proceeded Shields. See if that can jog in your memory bank. If not, let's move on and talk about a fight I didn't mention 2 weeks ago during the last episode. Isaac Dogboe fought Cesar Juarez in his home country of Ghana. Dogboe's home country of Ghana, Accra to be exact. Fight was for the interim WBO belt at 122 pounds. Shout out to pretty regular here on Pound for Pound Boxing Report, both from Truth and Facts, also from Three Kings Boxing. He talked about this fight that day. The fight took place, I want to say, on the 6th of this month. He did some live reporting during his show on YouTube. Dogboe ended up winning by 6-round stoppage. For those who saw the fight, do you think that the fight was stopped too quick? Because Juarez camp, after the bout, they have raised holy hell, claiming quick stoppage, and they want a rematch. That's A. B. Given what you saw from Dogboe, who called out regular WBO champion Jesse Magdaleno after the fight, he says he's ready for him now. He will let him fight him next. Where do you see Dogboe in a potential bout with Magdaleno, or in a larger platform? Where do you see him fitting in that 122-pound landscape?
Yeah, I didn't know much about this fight either until I got the tip. What a fight. Really exciting in an outdoor arena. Michael, how many people do you think were there in that arena? It was whatever size it was packed.
Pretty sizable.
Pretty sizable.
Like I said, it was not an empty seat in the stadium.
No, that was quite some party, and their man, it was called the Battle of the Gold Coast, and their man Dogboe put on quite a show against Juarez. He had him down in the second round. on a vicious left to the head. And it was the same punch that eventually stopped the fight. And it was really an odd knockdown. He hit him in the same place both times. In the second round, he just went down hard. He did get up. He did finish the round, and obviously fought several more rounds. This is one
Yeah, I
tough
thought
kid,
it might have been over
Juarez,
at that
man.
point.
Yeah, absolutely. Juarez is tough, but he got hit in the fifth round, same punch essentially, and there was almost a delay, almost a freeze for a second. It's almost like when you see a guy take a hard left to the liver, and there's almost a pause before the wave of pain hits them and they either fall down or take a knee. It was really similar. It's almost like time froze for just
I've
a
seen
second.
it before. It's just a delayed reaction.
It's just
like
odd. And he was straight up and down too. He got
come to them, and once they come to them senses, their neurological thing, their equilibrium just goes to put, and they just go down.
It is funny. He got hit. He was standing up very straight when he got hit, and then boom, he was down. It's just one of those timber sort of falls. He got up. He wanted to continue. Tony Weeks from the United States was the referee, and Tony took a very hard look into his face, and he stopped it. And they were the Juarez camp was really upset, but it is the referee's job to judge whether or not, not only is it safe for the fighter to continue, is there the potential for some serious damage. It had been a competitive fight, but Dogboe was everybody had Dogboe ahead on the cards. And you've got 2 10-8 rounds now by 5 rounds, and you start doing the math on your fingers, and you take a good look at him. I never second guess a referee for an early stoppage. I'd always rather see that than run into tragedy, and we've seen that too many times. But a wildly entertaining fight. Dogboe wants Magdaleno. I say bring it. Absolutely would love it.
Bringing everybody into this conversation for those who saw the fights, your impressions of the of Dogboe's stoppage over Juarez, as well as Dogboe standing in the junior featherweight division.
Oh, it was a really, really exciting fight, and to answer your question earlier, I mean, I myself would have liked to, if the fighter gets up, then I kind of want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say let it continue, and then if you see him taking too many unanswered punches or too much damage, then you step in and stop the fight. But I can understand why Weeks stopped the fight, because when he got up, first he had the delayed knockdown. The reaction to that knockdown was just delayed. But when he got up right away, which was different than the first knockdown. The first knockdown, he went down hard, like Gail said, but he got to his knees and he waited. He kind of waited till I think it was like the 7th count, and then got up. This time he tried to get up straight away, and then when he started going like kind of walking backwards, he like stumbled, and so I think that's what prompted Weeks to stop the fight. One, he had such a delayed reaction on such a vicious shot, but that he kind of stumbled backwards, so it was almost like he didn't have his legs underneath him. So in a way, the ref's doing his job and saying, hey, if this guy can't even stand up, then he's not able, or he's not doesn't have the ability to fight. But it was a really good fight. I think if they can make that Dogboe Magdalena fight, I think that would be a really, really exciting fight. I might even favor Dogboe in that fight. He has a very good style. He's very accurate with his punches. He hits hard. I think that would be a great fight to make. So I mean, I hope we get to see it, and maybe somewhere, hopefully in the States, put that fight at StubHub, and I'm there.
Scorsese, Daniel, your thoughts on the fight?
Go ahead, Daniel. I didn't watch it.
There's a reason people like Ghanaian fighters. And that fight is the reason. Great action throughout. He clipped Juarez when he had to. But there's the main issue, unfortunately. When I kind of feel bad for Juarez's team a little bit. It's true his reputation is he can get knocked down, but he does get back up. It's hard for him to take him completely out. And unfortunately, I think this is just more of a consequence to how people didn't like the stoppage of the Kovalev fight. But some people started saying that Tony Weeks is stopping things too early. Like, I saw the stoppage. It was a little bit early, but I'm with Gail that I prefer to end it one round too early than one round too late. But it was a good fight. And as far as Magdaleno, first we have to make sure Magdaleno makes weight. Because he's been looking a little big lately. So there's that aspect. And in that division, well, if it's true that Rigondeaux's technically going to be supposedly be forced to be a featherweight because not going to get any good fights in that division, it's wide open then. Get it while you can. Unless Rigondeaux comes back, then you have to almost by default still say, given the division chances, that he's still the top dog.
Yeah. If Rigondeaux is indeed fights at featherweight, you're right, Daniel. I agree with you. It's wide open, and I can't call it in terms of the best fighter in the division. You got Vargas out there, the Japanese fighter who holds the belt, one of the belts at 122. His name escapes me right now. You got Dogboe, you got Magdalena. So yeah, it's up in the air right now in terms of 122 pounds in terms of junior featherweight. Who wants it? Who wants to be the guy or be considered the guy? It's right there for you. Take it.
And Top Rank got two of the title holders, don't they?
Say that again.
Top Rank got two of the title holders, right? Magdaleno and this other kid's name.
Roman?
No. Magdaleno. I'm thinking of now. Golden Boy got the other guy. Ray Vargas.
Vargas.
I was about to ask why Top Rank ain't getting around to making the damn fight, but then they do got Jesse Magdaleno and the guy at 26 with the belt. That's what I was thinking about. The guy fighting.
Are you talking about Oscar Valdez?
Yeah, that's who they got. I was thinking about that one. They could definitely make that too, but they got a good opponent for Valdez, so. I've just got confused at the title holders at 22.
No problem. Let's move on to some news here. The title of this episode is Joshua Parker is signed and set, and that's because it was announced, and you had the press conference yesterday. Heavyweight unification bout. Joshua, who holds the IBF WBA belt, Parker, who holds the WBO belt. The fight is going to happen the 31st of March in Cardiff, Wales. As I just said, the press conference was yesterday. I'll just go around, and whoever wants to jump in, please do. Your thoughts on the fight and your reaction to the press conference. For me, I'll just say quickly that it's interesting how Parker's, I think that was his trainer, not so subtly tried to say that Joshua is weak-chinned, and it was the response of Joshua. He didn't get just all rah and just visibly upset, but he kind of in kind of a cheeky but firm way kind of clarified the suspicions that Parker's trainer made, and the reasons why he might have gotten dropped or whatever. And outside the Klitschko bout, the way he did it, and it was, to me, Parker's trainer was like, whoops, okay. I kind of pissed him off here and kind of fell back. That was very telling, as well as the fact that, to me, Joseph Parker, he looked a little bit nervous. Am I wrong here?
Talking about Higgins or the trainer?
Both.
Oh, I heard a lot about Higgins. I refuse to watch it because the Higgins guy is a damn. He's a buzzkill. It's like, man, quit lying to me. You know, they're mentally weak. This man got up the canvas versus somebody.
Higgins was the one who made assertions about Joshua Chin,
Yeah,
and Joshua like I said, he kept it cool and whatever, but he clapped back at him. And the way he kind of fell back, Higgins when Joshua went back at him, that was kind of telling to me.
yeah, they trying to make themselves the heel here for whatever reason, and I don't know if Parker likes it. I'm really not even interested in the mind games that they're doing. I'm just ready to go ahead and see the fight, and been more interested in seeing which more fights get made instead of kind of focusing on the ones that are made. But I do like the fight. But Higgins is killing it, and I mean not killing it in a good way. He's actually killing the vibes and creating this tension that his fighter probably can't live up to, and it's something this fighter hasn't done. I didn't see this with the Furies. I didn't see this with Andy Ruiz. Bro, just go. This is your biggest fight. Now you want to change everything. Just go in your training camp, get it done. Quit putting this added pressure on him. He's already going into enemy territory. Who knows? Maybe Joseph Parker is mentally ready and asks for this type of thing. But at the same time, I ain't seen it before. Ain't no need to start changing shoes going to the prom. You know
I'm
where
sorry.
you know.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm side eyeing him for another reason. During the press conference, they were saying that they're looking forward to going into camp and whatnot. Okay, the bout is a little bit over 2 months away. Why aren't you already in camp? Since we already know Joshua's in camp already. He's been in camp for a while. What does that say?
2 months is a good. I don't know. He's probably been in the gym, but looking at it
But my,
saying
my point is,
camp.
we've
You
seen
know.
we've seen this dude rise in weight. His weight has gotten bigger and bigger over the last few fights.
And he might need to be a big guy with Joshua. You don't know. You never know. I gotta let them do their job. I didn't know that. I'm pretty sure he's been in the gym since these negotiations. He's a young fighter, but I think they may just be saying camp. They're going deep into it now, but I hope he has. Anyways, I'm not really sure on that.
Let's bring everybody else into this discussion. Gail, Daniel, Jacob, your thoughts on the fact that the fight is going to happen, and any reaction to the press conference if you were able to see it yesterday.
I did not see the press conference. I've heard a lot of the fallout, and I've heard a lot of comments about this fight. And I'm a bit surprised that people aren't more enthusiastic. First of all, you get to see Joshua. Be happy, folks. We have a lot of other fighters at the top of their divisions not staying active. Joshua is staying active. Props to him. Good for him. This is what's going to make him a star. This is why he put 90,000 people in the seats, in addition to his skills, obviously. But he stays in front of people. He stays busy. He stays top of mind. That's great. Hey, Parker has a belt. Once this is over, and assuming Joshua wins, or even if Parker wins, it solidifies the position of whoever the winner is, eventually going against Wilder. And who knows what other is going to come in between, and whatever the hell is going to happen when we're not with Tyson Fury. That whole thing is just plain crazy to me. But it was a good fight. It was makeable. It's the right time. Joshua's not sitting on his ass. Bravo. I like it. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, look, he's doing what Mikey Garcia should do, but it's not.
Well, hello, exactly. We could talk about a lot of Keith Thurman. What are you waiting for? What do you want, an engraved invitation? What the hell? They make fights, and I've got to wonder, and this should be a topic for a future show. File this away. Is it the fight culture in Great Britain that wants them to keep busier than the fight culture here, where a lot of our guys cherry pick or sit around or just wait for the stars to align? You can't always do that. You can't always make every single fight that you want. Like Spence. I get it. A lot of the top guys don't want to fight Errol. but he's got to fight somebody. Just get in there. He had a great performance that now people are forgetting against Kell Brook. That's ancient history in boxing, in boxing time. It's like, the reverse dog years. You can't be doing that. It's not good for his career. We could talk about that when we get to the previews.
What were you going to say, Scorsese?
I was gonna say maybe it's just a belief system set up there. With these prime fighters, some believe like I'm gonna beat any and everybody you put in there, and some like, yo, I need to let this shit play out. Some I think the belief system has a lot to do with the in themselves, and should get on your nerves sometimes.
I don't know if it's a belief system or is it the way that the Constitution, the way that British boxing is constructed and operated. I would love to have some UK folks on here. May have EJ come back on here. Boxing Beats and Ryan, someone like that. Charlie Brown. Talk about how the difference in terms of how boxing is constructed. Not necessarily from the mindset of a fighter, but also from the mindset of the promoters and managers. But again, that's a subject for another day. I'll go to you, Jacob, and then you, Daniel, your reaction to the fact that Joshua Parker is going to happen, and any reaction to the press conference from yesterday.
So, first off, I want to correct Gail. Joshua is a star. To me, he's the most bona fide star in boxing right now. He's selling the seats.
What did I say?
I think you said when he becomes a star, or that this is going to lead to him becoming a star. When he is a star.
Let's say when he fully replaces Floyd Mayweather. Let's put it that way. I agree with you. He is a star. He was a star from the word go.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's going to replace Floyd Mayweather, but I mean that's a lot to live up to.
Somebody has to be at the top of the boxing food chain.
But he could do better than Bruno. We'll just say that.
He's doing better than Bruno now. He's surpassed Bruno by miles.
That was a shot at Bruno. That was a low blow at Bruno. But I'll carry on here. But no, I just to again, I'm excited for this fight because it's a chance to get closer to unification. It's two top heavyweights, that are undefeated. So that's another reason. It's going to be in the UK, so we know the crowd's going to be totally rabid and up for it. And props to Parker for going there. And I'm glad that their camps were able to get this money split and get this all figured out. But I think Parker is. Admittedly, I think he's the weakest link in the heavyweight division as far as champions or potential, contenders. His fight versus was it Ruiz or what was that?
Fury?
No, the one before that. I think it was Ruiz.
No. He had a fight. He fought Ruiz. I forgot who his first title defense was. I can't remember the name, but that fight was a snoozer.
Yeah, but anyway, he struggled. To me, he seemed to, that fight was a lot closer than people were giving it credit for. And I think, Joshua, you could say all you want about his chin and stuff, but he got up and he finished the fight. He didn't just finish the fight. He knocked the guy out. He stopped him. And, Parker's competition hasn't been like, someone to the likes of Vladimir Klitschko, who, was a beast for a long time. So, when you're fighting higher competition and still winning and, you're still undefeated, I don't know how, this is heavyweights. I mean, anybody hits a perfect shot, they're going to go lights out. So, if they're just relying on that and they're relying on them being able to get to Joshua's chin before he gets to yours, then I think that's a very bad strategy. And in a sense, they're almost setting themselves up for failure. What he needs to focus on is making sure that he uses any advantages that he has. I mean, size-wise, they're going to be very similar, but use body attack that Parker likes to use, work behind a jab, and focus on those things rather than hey, hopefully I clip this guy in the chin and he goes out.
If he would have made an argument about Joshua and body shots, okay, I can get it because Parker's one of his best attributes is ability to go downstairs, and we saw in the Dillian White fight, um, you can get to Joshua in the gut. But he didn't make that argument. He looked at the chin argument, and to your point, Jacob, if he's looking just to land a shot to the chin, he may not be able to. And in the process, he can get caught, he can get clipped, and I don't care if he has not been down. When you get hit with that kind of power, he can hurt anybody. So yeah, and again,
Parker is also very hittable. I
yeah,
don't know if a lot of people don't realize this, but he doesn't have the best defense in the world. He got hit a lot in his fight. So I mean, not standing the Fury fight. I mean, it was just really slow, boring fight, but too cautious. But in that Ruiz fight, he got hit a lot, and he put himself up against his back against the ropes many times. And you do that against Anthony Joshua, I think you're going to be in trouble.
yeah. So he's gonna have to step it up a level here. Not saying he's just a total bum or anything like that, but this is the best opponent of his career, and I'm gonna have to see some marked improvement from him. And then I've seen certainly from his last couple of fights. I'll go to you, Daniel. Your thoughts?
This is the fight that I wanted to see at heavyweight before either of them had a belt. Because at that point, I would have said the skills-wise and level-wise, they were probably about equal. It's obvious now that Joshua has improved leaps and bounds since that time. Parker, not so much. But the thing with Parker is, and he has to make it an inside fight. Obviously, like you mentioned, the Dillian White fight, it still showed evidence that if you invest in the body with Joshua, he can't get hurt. And you mentioned, and you also said it, like people that have like really big muscular body like Joshua, they do tend to move slower. And if you hit him in the body long enough, that slows him down even further. And in a way, mainly because Parker for the division does have short arms, he kind of has no choice to make it. If he tries to make it a distance fight with Joshua, he's just going to keep him away with the jab. And eventually just break him down to the lance of right hand. As far as the press conference, that's been expected. Higgins has not been the first guy to say that Joshua's had a weak chin. And ultimately, though, was Joshua proven that he can't get up? That's true, that he can't get up from being knocked down and go on to win fights. Now this is the second fight almost in a row that Joseph Parker is going to have in technically enemy territory. Obviously, the Fury fight was first, but it's going to be an interesting tell because right now, Joseph Parker, I do agree, like he should have been in Camp Longo. He has to have the camp of his life right now. Because he's going against somebody that is considered, if not already, the heir apparent to like the crown, the major crown of the sport. It is going to take a lot to replace Floyd. Because unfortunately, Joshua, outside of us, like the purists, the hardcore, doesn't resonate that much with the general public yet. But that time's going to get there. And this will be one of the fights to get there. And what better way, in many ways, to hype up Joshua Water than making it for all the belts. It doesn't even matter if Parker wants up winning, then you have Parker Wilder. Or if we choose Parker Ortiz or Joshua Ortiz. Either way, I do think that this is going to be beginning of a good month for the heavyweight fights. The press conference, that's expected. You have to be expected. They're automatically going to be the bad guys in the UK because they're not from the UK. You're expected for that. Joshua's going to be the squeaky clean guy, the guy that's going to sell the tickets, the reason that people are buying them. and he's not going to do anything to jeopardize that unless somebody else really gets into his head mentally, which Wilder has been trying to do for, I don't know, the past year and a half now.
In a global sense, Joshua has he can eclipse Floyd. We're gonna be honest about it. In a global sense, he can eclipse Floyd. The problem is he's just not known here, and too many folks here think that if you're not visible here, if you're not really known here, you're kind of obsolete. But if everything goes right with Joshua, and if he does what he does, he'll get that chance. But first, he has to get through Joseph Parker. Let's move on to some other news in the welterweight division. It looks like we're going to see Jeff Horn and Terence Bud Crawford. The question is when. I'm hearing sometime in April. Given your background in the media, in the boxing media, to be specific, Gail, what are you hearing? I'm hearing negotiations are close to being finalized. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm hearing that it's all but inked and they're ready to go. Interesting. I'm also hearing that it's going to possibly take place in Las Vegas, not in Australia, not in Omaha. That makes me personally happy because I can get out there and see the fight. I would not be going to Australia, and I would not be going to Omaha, Nebraska, or Lincoln, Nebraska, for that matter. And I don't hate this fight. I don't hate it at all, especially for Crawford stepping up. It's, it's all in the family at Top Rank. Horn does have a belt. And if Horn's going to get the crap beat out of him and get that belt taken away in his very next fight, well, he might as well earn a nice paycheck doing it. And he can certainly do that a lot more easily in Las Vegas. So I don't hate it. I'm good with it.
First of all, I'm going to give a shout out to Gus and Sean, who are in the chat room. Gus, talk to Gus on Skype privately, and don't be surprised if Gus. I'll just say this: don't be surprised if you hear a word of Gus making a possible bet on the side of Parker, because he thinks that he feels that the odds are a bit too high. And I told him, I think they're 9-1, 10-1, and yeah, those kind of odds. If you're a betting man, you kind of tempted to make that kind of bet. I'll just read.
That's a smart bet, though. You always want to play the odds. If someone's going to give you odds, you don't really lose anything because whatever, you put your bet down. But if you win, you get a big win out of it. He's smart for doing that.
Yeah, and he says in the chat here that Parker has a decent resume on the road. Takam, Ruiz, Fury, arguably the best in the division. He said he noted that Joshua, despite his 82-inch reach, did his most damage against a much shorter man against Takam on the inside. So I think he's given Parker here a better chance than most. He also said about Bud. He said Bud is cherry picking. The same people who could condemn Manny for selecting Horn have conveniently approved of this fight. Piggyback off of that and just open the discussion for everyone else here. Thoughts on Crawford and Bud Crawford? I mean,
has Horn
Bud Crawford, yeah.
I want to know, is Horn picked out as Undertaker? Because I think he's gonna get fucking annihilated. And I don't think, and to answer Gus's question, and shout out to Gus, how you doing, Gus? Answer Gus's question. I don't think it's cherry picking in the sense that if Crawford can win a belt in his first fight at the new weight, then that's to me, that's a one fight closer to getting a unification, because what he wants to do is unify the division like he did previously. But he can get one step closer to getting a Thurman or a Spence or one of those fights, by being able to dangle the belt, because that's as much as we don't want to believe it, the belt is still, it has some value. Most boxing fans will tell you who they think are the best, belt or no belt, but it still has some value financially, and getting kind of the eyes on you, so to speak. So I think it's a good strategic move, and Top Rank is going to try to do what they can for him if they're doing the right thing. So I don't see it as a cherry picking move, but I got Crawford in this one by death.
By death. I'll go to you, Scorsese and Daniel.
Yeah, like I wouldn't call it cherry pick either. He did beat Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao got
Isn't he the number one contender? Correct me if I'm wrong, Scorsese.
yeah, but I could. There's an argument against that. That with him holding all those belts, he should be able to get a WBA and WBC shot right away if he wanted. You know what I mean? So like, if you ever hear him talking about Keith Thurman or somebody don't want to fight me, I would look at that as untrue, because like it's in the rules. If your team know the rules, that you could have got a shot at, I believe, the WBC and the WBA for being the former champion down there. I could be wrong on one of those, but there's an argument against that too. But
But you know how the game go.
yeah, true.
How
Top
much
rank.
it is about who you know and who you're affiliated with. The other fighters are affiliated with Heyman, while Horn
True.
is not. He's
Yeah.
affiliated with Top Rank, so you know how the game go.
Yeah, that's what I would fear for Terence Crawford, and that's why I feel like he should not. Like, look, if Jeff Horn comes out and proves he can be competitive, I wouldn't doubt that. But if I also don't doubt that Terence Crawford could beat him 12-0. But for the business aspect of Terence Crawford, it wouldn't be good to beat him 12-0. You won't have any opponents. Manny Pacquiao is looking like he's like it's just not anybody there, man. I'd be looking out for myself if I'm Terence Crawford. Either you'd have to leave Bob Arum, and I'm not suggesting he should, because Bob Arum has been good to him, and he's probably the biggest star at welterweight. He even made him an undisputed champion, and fills out his hometown, unlike several people at the PBC can do. But man, it's tough sledding in that division. I don't ever see this division getting unified, not unified, but having an undisputed champion or nothing like that. It's too deep. Like, people are gonna avoid fights, keep O's. I really believe that, and the money might not be there to make the fights. But if I'm Terence Crawford, I'm looking. I'm like, yo, everybody's across the street. Some of them might come over, but it doesn't look. It doesn't look like they are. So for now, I would go in there and I would make Jeff Horn look competitive. I would think about career opponents. I would pull a rematch out of this mess. I'm just telling the truth, man. That's how I would be looking at it myself, because he is, like I said, tough sledding, and Bob Arum doesn't seem to have shit at welterweight. And Pacquiao, Bud is not the one being talked about. They talking Pacquiao Lomachenko. So go figure.
Now, that's just talk. That's what it is. You don't get anything from that. Even Lomachenko's folks said today they're not interested in that.
Yeah, but yeah,
that's
Lomachenko and them be bullshit. Like, they did the same with Real. Well, we don't care. We don't care. Then you see the fights made event. Like, I don't trust anything on that side. Terence Crawford, in my opinion, if I'm his advisor, I'm like, bro, take it easy. You know what I mean? Let's do this again. Let's get some
never
more.
take it easy in this cutthroat sport. Never.
If you're
No.
capable, maybe. I done seen some people that look like they carry. It looked like it happened to me before. I'm just saying, for a few examples, looked like Floyd tried to do it with Chino Maidana, and then it turned out hard. But he got the rematch of it and got to pull the fight out
Yeah, I don't
and
know
do
about that.
another one.
People low key sleep on how good Maidana was. I'm not buying that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a possible argument. I mean, yeah, it is.
I think
your thoughts?
you're playing with fire though. If you're gonna take it easy and hoping that you're gonna get a rematch, you might wake up getting knocked out because you weren't sharp.
Yeah, but
You're taking.
But you still maybe get the rematch having the name of Terence Crawford over here in the States. I mean, I don't think I'm saying, look, if you know for a fact, like, I'm hitting him with everything. He's hurt. I can pull it out anytime. I can win this 8-4. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at it as a very, very confident line. I know you can say it's walking a thin line, but man, them opponents are scarce, man. You don't want to have Terence Crawford doing what Gail said, sitting around. Like, yo, like, everybody's gonna look and say, "Oh, you fought everybody at 40. What the hell you ain't doing it at 47 for? You scared?" The whole world be done. Everybody that's with him be done turned on him. So I mean, I think you got to think about itself.
Well, people who will say
Yeah,
that they need to understand. Well, a lot of them won't pay attention to the dynamic of the business side and how, as you said, everybody else is over there across the street, so he may not be able to get
Yep,
to those folks across the street.
that's
What you was going to say?
Patera's.
What was you going to say, Jacob?
well, that was one of my predictions, though, in our end of year show was that Crawford could potentially leave Top Rank. So, I mean, this could open the door for that. If he's trying to get fights, I mean, Crawford's a fighter. He wants to fight, and he's very active. So if he's trying to get fights, and he's got a belt, and he can't get fights because his promoter's in the way, don't be surprised that he leaves.
That would be a boss move, and that's a scare. Like he be leaving for people who don't make money but can whoop your ass. So man, I would get on my knees and salute with that. You know, I would bow down on that one, but I wouldn't do it.
That's reason enough to do it, to get your praise, Scorsese.
I wouldn't do it. I like Crawford, but I mean, I'd be protecting what I already built. I'd be like, build your own thing over there. You know,
Let's
or come over here.
get Daniel into this discussion. Your thoughts, Daniel?
Well, first, the WBA doesn't have that rule where the champion could immediately challenge if you're moving up. The WBC does, so he could have forced the issue with WBC, but then Heyman would just immediately position Porter immediately back there and say, "Oh no, I have a mandatory right here." That's the problem. That's the business aspect of it. This is the only fight he can get right now that's feasible, that's worth a title shot. And I personally, like I say, if this was business, I would do the exact opposite. I would blitz the crap out of Jeff Horn. Make it a murder. And then say, position yourself, okay, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, particularly Errol Spence. Everybody's afraid to fight you. I'm not afraid to fight you. And then do the situation that you have right now at light heavyweight, where you had a Heyman guy back out of a purse bid from a Top Rank guy. So you make it that position. You make them do that point. Because otherwise, there really wouldn't be a point to him moving up other than he can't make the weight. But it's interesting the fight going to be it. And it's also interesting that, like I mentioned before the show, that apparently Bob Arum has stated if Pacquiao gets on this card, and the rumoring that Pacquiao somehow way is going to be on this card, they're going to turn this into the first ESPN pay-per-view for boxing on Top Rank.
That would be cold. That would be kind of cruel. Think how low man he kind of stoop. He's one of the top dogs in the sport. Now he's fighting presumably on the undercard of someone else.
You know how Arum is.
Fallen.
You know
That's why I said he might leave Top Rank. I'm telling you. He treats Lomachenko better than he treats Crawford. Let's not forget that.
But man, like the other side ain't being promoted well. Like, hell no.
No, well, the other side has one of the boogeymen in the division.
True.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Like, okay, yeah, the other side has Errol Spence.
Well, Errol Spence need to come see me. Like, Errol Spence is being promoted horribly, in my honest opinion. He just sat on the fence for a year after, like Gail said, after beautiful performance. They said, go take a break. In his prime, Errol Spence need to go see Top Rank and say, yo, I'm fighting in doubt. I was a Heyman supporter. Heyman is pissing me off. The ship is sinking. He needs to go see Bob and shake some hands and say, can you give me a fight in Dallas? And then we can do a Midwest big show. Can we do that? Because if I'm Crawford, I'm not moving the muscle. I got this shit on lock. Period.
Well, that's the whole point. Like I said, he gets this. He gets a WBO belt. But unfortunately, that's the bad part about it. If you can get Spence to move away to Top Rank, yeah, that's easy. That's Longhorn versus Cornhusker right there. That sells itself. But we know what the end game is. We know what Bob's end game is with Crawford. It's to feed him. Yeah.
Go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead.
I was about to say, like, the end game with Crawford, is to feed him Manny Pacquiao. Because that's the way Bob Arum operates. He operates he makes sure that his last guy loses to his next guy. And that's what they've been trying to do. And that's what Freddie Roach has adamantly been against. And if the reason to say that you've got to blitz, we got to be easy. I do remember at 140 pounds, a fight that was supposed to be an easy cherry pick, and it had titles involved. When Mr. Amir Khan was supposed to razzle and dazzle slow-footed Danny Garcia, and we all know what happened after that.
But Khan is made of glass, so.
But that's the point. But
I don't think that's a fair comparison. It's Crawford. I don't know. Crawford and Pacquiao, I don't think are made of glass.
Shout out to Bo from Truth and Facts. He's in the chat room. According to him, he's saying in the chat room, according to Arum, Manny will not be on that undercard. Since we've kind of flown through the show here, quick subject on the fly. Before we began the show, we were having a discussion, pre-show talk and whatnot, and you was mentioning, Jacob, I think you said this before, but I want you to touch on this point again, that in your estimation, in your view, you think that pay-per-view is done. Expand on that here on air live.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is it's kind of connected to what we just talked about. If they were going to make this fight pay-per-view, because of the addition of Pacquiao. But to me, just like the music industry, the pay-per-view model has kind of died down a lot, unless you have like a circus fight, like the fight I don't really want to name, but McGregor Mayweather. That did monster numbers. But again, we're not going to get the numbers that we did before. With technology now, you have so many different, people that stream things and share those streams or have hacked, Fire Sticks or Periscope or all these things. So now it's available, and, you have viewers that basically are very savvy and they can get, access to this stuff. So, Daniel was making some good points in saying that instead of trying to get the terrestrial or television, focusing on that, but more so focusing on the streaming services. So one example we gave was, instead of charging $60 or $70 for a pay-per-view fight, maybe they do kind of like a $10 a month, like a Netflix, like a $10 a month service. And you'll make $120 through a year versus the possibility, because putting down $70 for a fight or $50 for a fight at one time is a little bit harder for people to let go of that money right then and there, especially if you have multiple fights during the year. But it just it's one of my beliefs. I had said it, I think, on a couple years ago when we had the end of the year, that I thought that the pay-per-view was dead. That we weren't going to see any like big pay-per-views like we used to, where you would have across a lot of different divisions, you'd have big pay-per-views. That model just seems to be dead to me with the advancement in technology.
And Bo in the chat said he agrees with you, Jacob, 100% on all the points. So let's just open it up here right quick. A quick little discussion here. The future of pay-per-view, is it over?
I want to say that I saw a lawsuit. A guy was streaming the pay-per-views for Klitschko and Joshua, and I don't remember if it was 90,000 or 900,000. But if you
I know which one you're talking about.
How much was it?
It's 90. what it was is a guy bought the subscription, the digital subscription for Joshua Klitschko, and then put his tablet in front of another camera and put it on Periscope.
Mm-hmm. See that right there? That'll stop him.
Yeah.
That'll quit.
And then what wound up happening is, obviously, Sky Sports sued him. They revoked his subscription, and he has to pay £5,000 in lawyers' fees. But luckily, he got out of the £85,000 apparently that Sky Box Office tried to say that they were damaged based on that. But it brings him to a point, and and one thing I mentioned that I agree with Jacob in the sense of the fact that the terrestrial concept, or like the cable box concept of pay-per-view, is done. And the pay-per-view as a concept itself, no. The medium that it's been produced to is done because of the way we can get things streaming now. I'm not going to mention the piece of technology because there's some legalities in it, but if you want to get a good example of how one company shifted one way to another, you can look at the WWE. Actually, they have their own streaming network, and one of the things that they offer for the streaming networks, for right now, the current price is $10. From what I'm seeing here, you get every WWE pay-per-view as part of that subscription. And I made the point of the fact that what you could lose in money, like not charging people $70, $100, or even getting close to $50, $60, buying a pay-per-view from your cable provider, your satellite provider, you'll make up for in massive volumes if you offer, let's say, for $10 to $15 via streaming. Because if you get, let's say, I put it in simple math, you can compare 10 people paying $70 versus 100 people paying $10. It's the volume.
Go ahead.
No, the volume. It's the volume that's going to win out, and it's the way that it should shift, because unfortunately, you're not going to stop piracy. Like, even with streaming services, not music, you can't stop piracy. So, luckily, the promoters are getting smart and starting to do this on their own. They just haven't fully brought it into pay-per-view. That's going to be the next step. Especially now with Top Rank, when they're building their network. If they're going to make this an ESPN pay-per-view fight, might as well be the first one that's exclusively available via streaming. If you're going to trailblaze, be the true trailblazer in that point.
Let's get Gail's perspective on given her work in media. Your thoughts on this?
The pay-per-view model makes too much money to get rid of it. It's never going away, but I do think it's going to evolve. I think you're going to see a lot less of them. The few that you do see are going to be bigger, badder, better, more expensive. And as for the rest, boxing is eventually, despite ESPN's efforts and everybody else's, a lot of boxing is going to be moved to streaming. I mean, it just is. And that's okay with me. As long as we still have access to it, great. But, for the broadcasters and the premium cable networks to put in all the money and effort and promotional dollars and, all the expenses it takes and then try to get those back, it's just getting rough. And, they're going to reserve those pay-per-views for the big stuff. Then there's the model Top Rank talked about, which was more of a subscription. You subscribe to Top Rank Boxing just like you'd subscribe to CBS All Access or, Hulu or Netflix or something like that. and you can do that now with certain niche sports too. NBC has niche subscriptions for professional cycling, for example. You don't see every single leg of every single major cycling race around the world on American TV, but you want to see that stuff, you can subscribe online. We're not there yet. For boxing, I'm not completely convinced we'll ever get there, but that's not a model I object to. If we get there, I'd be okay with that. Just give me my fights.
And just one more point, Mike, because even with the movie industry, you have even Netflix and Amazon, you have all these studios now talking about doing their own platforms. And, basically, if you want to get access to their library or to their movies, you're going to subscribe to that platform. So Amazon does something kind of similar where you can, so if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can stream stuff that they have available, but you can also kind of, like if you're into horror or if you're into certain genres, so to Gail's point, if you're into bicycling or cycling or you're into swimming or whatever, that you can pay, a little extra to get access to that specific, genre, or in this case, a sport. So again, the point is that I think, the old way of doing things, as we saw in the music industry, eventually when technology catches up, people figure out ways to do things that are going to be the most cost efficient, even if it means that it's illegal or not. I know Scorsese was saying that there was lawsuits and whatnot, but there was tons of lawsuits in the music industry, but not a lot of those actually fruited anything. I mean, people were brought to court and whatever, but it was a very select few. And a lot of people will take those chances, even like, if I'm on the freeway, hey, the speed limit says 65, but you can't tell me that people just say, I'm just going to take my chance. I'm going to go 70.
Last word on this, Scorsese, before we move on to preview what's happening this weekend.
Nothing much on that. I got a little say in earlier, but I got a little breaking news. It broke about an hour or so ago, but we was talking about other things. If anybody's interested, the WBC, in my opinion, done the right thing. They're supposed to do the right thing, and there's been a fight scheduled for Alexander Vazik versus a guy I don't know who the hell he is. But I'll say the name, and I'm probably going Mahindi Amar. They're gonna be fighting for Alvarez's spot. That just broke earlier today, and it's supposed to be not earlier today, probably like an hour ago, March 17th at Madison Square Garden. I don't know which card they got for that, but I know he's an ESPN fighter, right? So do y'all know any March 17th card that they already set up?
Offhand, no.
Offhand, no, but it might just be one of the regular it might be one of the regular ESPN shows. And well, I'm glad that the WBC is moving fast when it comes to this, because let's counting Alvarez, there's been at least 3 or 4 people that have turned down a fight against Vostok for either a silver belt or an interim shot.
Brown and Joe Smith Jr. There's 3. Makes 3 altogether.
Marcus Martin, yeah, and no, Marcus Martin's staying there. I know Top Dog's the one that went down to super middleweight. Okay, but it makes a good point out of it. And well, if we're in the subject of other breaking news that popped into the last hour, like I mentioned, guy, what is everybody thoughts about the Ogawa situation?
Oh yeah, Ogawa, who scored what many deem a controversial win over Tevin Farmer late last year to win the IBF vacant IBF junior lightweight title, where he tested positive for PED steroid, I think specifically. So yeah, that bout has been labeled a no contest. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'd anticipate, given that you still got Javante Davis out there. I probably wouldn't be surprised if you were here in the next month or so, 2 months, that you hear a Tevin Farmer, Javante Davis fight. for that vacant IBF junior lightweight belt. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Daniel. Yeah, Ogawa, he positive for a PED. It was announced earlier today.
Yep, synthetic testosterone specifically.
Okay. Testosterone, not a yeah. There you go. I'm not familiar with the guy. You're talking about Scorsese. Um, but I'll look it up for sure because I don't know anything about the guy you
Yeah,
mentioned. I'm
it's coming
unacquainted.
from like TVA Sports and then BoxingTalk.com. TVA's in Canada, and they definitely went under like their top five right now. Well, after the top four, you have like Badu Jack, Joe Smith Jr., who turned him down, Cato Murat, Blake Caparello, Fonfara, Chilemba. I would like to see Chilemba Fonfara before this guy, but who knows? I don't know, But at the end of the day, I agree with what Daniel said. Moving fast on this shit because it's time to get it cracking. Like you can't just have a mandatory telling you no over and over again, and they need to do something long term in this too. When you hear about step aside deals, they need to rear their heads and say, "I will move your ass right away," and write it in the rule books like the IBF because they had a disaster on their hands, and luckily tonight it's cleared up.
Indeed, indeed. Let's move on. Start breaking down. Preview, excuse me, what's coming up this weekend. Um, Big card, of course, is happening on Showtime this Saturday. I think it's at the Little Garden in NYC. Errol Spence, we mentioned his name throughout the show this evening. Well, he's finally making his first defense of the IBF welterweight strap, defending the belt against Lamont Peterson. On the undercard is Robert Easter Jr. defending his lightweight title against former junior lightweight champion Javier Fortuna. Let's focus on Spence and Peterson first. Listen, Peterson, he's a good, solid guy. And I think he's going to give Spence a good fight. I think he may take him some rounds. I just don't think he's strong enough. He has enough to beat him. I'm going to use Scorsese on this one. We finally got Spence back in the ring. Your reaction, your thoughts, your breakdown of this fight coming up with Peterson.
Finally got both of them back in the ring. Shit, Heyman guys finally got both of them. Sadly, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like I'm gonna take a stance, say if Spence fights Thurman and Crawford, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a way people go back and look at Lamont Peterson as being more competitive because I think styles make fights and I'm not saying he's going to be super competitive, but at the end of the day, the physicality of Errol Spence can outdo any man at that division, in my opinion. I think it's man amongst boys when it comes to him there, and that's just a strong opinion I have. But Lamont Peterson, he does everything right, man. I would say the loss to Matisse, the two hooks that hurt him, he got hurt two times in the fight. One with a hook where he got dropped twice and one stopped him. One of the first hook, he had the defense up and it clipped him on top of the head. Most of the time, that's not hurting you, knocking you down. That's in a way, it's a lucky punch. And the next time, he has his defense up and they trade in hooks and Matisse has no defense up. He gets clocked too, but Peterson with his defense up gets clocked and gets knocked out. And we seen Matisse go on to be not so lucky doing shit like that further in his career because that won't get you far. Eventually, that luck runs out. He's a very complete fighter. Dog himself. You don't even take the fight unless you are some kind of dog. So I expect demolition in a way, but at the same time, when I look at the technical aspects of it, I think I'm gonna look back and like what Peterson done more than I like what some higher name profile guys would do in their fights with Errol Spence.
Go to you, Daniel, and then you, Gail and Jacob. Your thoughts.
This is an interesting fight, and I actually talked to Bo about this offline when it comes to it. When we mentioned the fight with Brooke, one of the knocks that people had in Spence winning was they said that he fought damaged goods because of how Brooke before that fought Triple G. You're not going to get damaged goods with Lamont Peterson at this stage. Not to mention that Lamont Peterson is gonna make you fight inside. He's going to make you outwork him in the body. There's a reason he's called the body snatcher. And that's going to set up good shots for him, and see how long can Spence last before he can tire out, because his thing is fast punches, crisp punches, and effective punches. If you start breaking down and going away to the body, you start slowing it down, we don't know what you're going to get. But then again, Spence has that left hand in mind. So he can easily rock Peterson, which, like we mentioned in the Matisse fight, he can't get rocked. It's going to be an interesting fight. I expect Spence to win, because at this stage he is the fresher line in this, but to the point that Scorsese made, it's probably going to look, and if we probably compare with other fights, like if we compare with a Thurman fight, it may turn out that Peterson might look more competitive in hindsight.
Your thoughts, Gail, and then Jacob.
Nothing good comes from guys being inactive. It always concerns me. This is a running theme of the show tonight, it seems. Having said that, they've both been inactive for much longer, but being inactive weighs a lot more heavily on an older guy, on a guy who's been through more wars like Peterson. And I like Lamont. His story is incredible. You know, let's all remember, this is a guy who was homeless at one point. He has really made something of himself, you know, beyond expectations. He's always tough. He's never in a bad fight. He beat Danny Garcia, in my opinion, and it wasn't even close to me. He got robbed.
Beat the shit out of him.
Thank you. We are agreeing tonight. I don't know what's going on in 2018.
He beat the shit out of him. Look,
yeah.
Look, I can't even play that one wrong. He beat the shit out of him.
Absolutely right. Okay, we got that straightened out. Having said all that, and as much as I like him and really like to see him succeed, Spence is the younger guy, faster guy, the guy on the rise. You know, Spence is the guy with the graph, the line going up. Peterson's is the one, unfortunately, coming down. They're going to be crossing in the middle as they pass each other. I do think it'll be competitive. I hope it's entertaining, exciting. I hope it isn't over too fast, but you know, to bet against Spence would be pretty crazy, honestly. But having said that, when we say Spence is the younger guy, the up and coming guy, he's already 27 years old. So he can't wait around, and he needs to stop screwing around. And to everyone's point tonight, if he isn't getting fights, he needs to rattle some cages and make something happen after this, because 27 turns to 28 turns to 30 faster than you realize.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, I think you know, when they announced this fight, I thought, yeah, this is a sneaky good fight. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Peterson. He's a dangerous fighter. He tends to fight to his competition sometimes. And, you know, I think some of the knocks that he has is, and to, you know, echo the sentiments that were sent earlier, he definitely beat Garcia. But some of the knocks he has is some of his losses that, you know, that he's had. You know, specifically the Matisse one. But I mean, and that was early in the fight, and you know, sometimes people get caught cold. I think both guys do a lot of body work, so I anticipate seeing a lot of inside body attack fighting, and maybe, you know, kind of, I'm going to give you one, and then, you know, I'm going to give you one back kind of thing, which would be, you know, great. I think it'll be a tough fight, but ultimately I think Spence will be able to weather the storm. But don't be surprised if Peterson, you know, has a couple, you know, good rounds, and potentially even hurts Spence. I know we haven't seen him hurt of recent, but he has been, you know, shaken before. And in boxing, anybody, you land the right punch in the right place, you can put anybody down. And then that's all really Lamont needs is a chance to, for that window to open, or that door to open so he can go through it. But again, I'm going with Spence in this one by close decision, and hopefully we'll get to see Spence fight the winner of Thurman and whoever the hell he's fighting.
You're gonna wait a long time for that. Given the way Thurman's talking, as I said on another show, you will see Joshua Wilder before you see Spence step in the ring against before you will see Thurman step in the ring against Spence. So
we'll see Joshua Bowe before we see Thurman Spence.
Yeah, but you don't wait a long time for that because I just don't see. I don't care what Thurman says. Spence is that dude's boogeyman. Until he steps in the ring, instead of talking out the side of your neck, saying this and that, with the run-on sentences instead of being short and succinct with his answer vis-a-vis Errol Spence, you're not going to see it again. You're going to see.
The flute. You got to practice the flute to be good at it. So, it takes up a lot of his time playing that flute.
Pretty much. But let's move on to the undercard. Robert Easter Jr. Defended his IBF lightweight belt against former junior lightweight champion Javier Fortuna. Go to you, Daniel. Your thoughts on this fight?
Scorsese's favorite fighter versus one of the best young lightweights in the world. This is going to be a fun fight. Because if we take anything from Easter's fights with Shakov and with Richard Comey, is that if you bring him a fight, he will give it to you. And that unfortunately may fall to his detriment because unfortunately, when Easter does that, he gives up the main advantage that he has, which is height and reach, in order to fight back. If he was smart, like I said, he would try to fight Fortuna on the distance and make sure to keep him away, just work the jab, and then just land the good body shots. That's not going to be the case with Javier Fortuna. We know Javier Fortuna comes to fight. And he's going to make it a fight if need be. And it's going to be a very interesting scenario because, okay, Shapikov, we've seen this before. Like, we've seen it with Francisco Vargas. It wasn't exactly fight of the year, but same thing. When Francisco Vargas, remember, he faced Takashi Miura, then Orlando Salido, then Miguel Burchell. Tough fight after tough fight after tough fight. Robert Easterson was going through the same thing. Richard Comey, Shafakov, and now Fortuna. Tough fight, and this could be a very tough fight for him. Now, with Vargas, that trajectory wound up having him lose the title in the end. I think probably Easter will be able to pull it out because then he's probably going to use the higher reach enough where he'll win more than 7 rounds, but it's going to be an entertaining undercard. That's something where it's not the Little Gardens of Barclays, where if you're going to Barclays, you're going to enjoy it.
Jacob, your thoughts?
I really like Easter a lot, and he's had some tough fights, to Daniel's point. But again, I think he's staying active, and I had him winning that fight against what's his face? Is it Shakakov or
Shakakov or Comey? Which one?
No, Shakakov, the most recent fight. But it was a good fight and whatnot. I think he sometimes doesn't use his height and reach in the right way, and I don't know if it's for an entertainment factor and whatnot, but I really do think that he has a lot of talent. It should be a really good fight, but I think he'll be able to beat Fortuna, and so I'm going to go with him.
Your thoughts, Scorsese?
Yeah, the first 5 rounds, if Easter hasn't improved, and I'm not giving him any, I'm gonna say he hasn't. Let's just say that he is who he is. He hasn't improved. I can only go by the tape. He can show me more if he feels, and I'll accept that. But what's going to happen is he's going to find it hard to hit Javier Fortuna for the first 4 or 5 rounds, like anybody in boxing has found it hard to do, and he's going to get clocked a lot. After those first 5, 6 rounds is anybody's game. Um, and I ain't gonna lie, I hope it comes out to be Javier Fortuna's game. I enjoy watching him. I enjoy watching him more than Easter Junior. Easter Junior's fun too, but hell, let him make a rematch. So and a division that could use some good opponents and a jolt in the arm. I'm not gonna pick Javier Fortuna, but I'm not gonna pick either one. Don't trust either one, but I'm going to hope with Javier Fortuna here.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear you say that you're a fan of Fortuna over Easter. This is an interesting fight. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. Easter, always seems to thread the needle and make things so much closer than they need to be. I don't know if that's by design or what. This to me is more of a pick 'em fight, and I am leaning more toward Easter, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went to Fortuna, and it might just turn out to be who's ready on that night. Flip a coin. Sometimes a guy has a good night, sometimes a guy has a bad night, and when guys are matched this closely and neither one has a skill set that really takes the other one apart, it depends on, are you 100% or are you 89.5% on any given day? And those variables do happen.
I know Easter has had some tough fights. I know some would even argue that he lost both to Comey and Shafikov. The issue with me is Comey and Shafikov are arguably better than Fortuna. I can't get that Sosa fight out of my mind. I know Easter doesn't always fight the smartest, but Fortuna, he fights outright stupid sometimes, and he does.
Yeah, it's true.
There's no way he should have let Sosa beat him. There's no way he should have given Sosa the opportunity to catch him in the way that he did.
His gas tank.
That too. He always fades late in fights, and that's because he fights stupid early. He wastes energy. And because of that, yeah, he may give Easter some trouble early, but if for once Easter fights with discipline, if he actually do what he says he's going to do in this fight and finally fight tall, he's going to catch up to him in the second half of the fight, and he's going to win, if not stop him late. There are issues with Easter, but I don't trust Fortuna at all. I don't trust his gas tank. I don't trust his discipline, and I don't really trust his chin, because whenever he gets caught solid, he seems to feel it. So for me, Easter may have his problems early, but if he uses his height, if he uses his jab, he's going to win. And he's going to win going away during the second half of the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the end, Mike, isn't that what we kind of hoped would happen both in the Comey and Shafikov fight? And
But
we kind of seen how those turned out.
But the problem is, number one, Comey and Shafikov are damn good fighters. I don't care if Shafikov did lose his last fight out. He did that at 130. At 135, I still believe he's going to give any and everybody a tough fight there at lightweight. And we know how good Comey is. I think he's different scenario. He could be a champion right now. A different time period, he could be a champion right now. So it's the guys that Easter fought. One, two, because of the backlash he received I think he's going to have the mindset to really impress and really to show what kind of fighter he believes he's going to be. In short, um, he's going to bring his best and going to try to come with what he considers his A game. And Fortuna, because he often fights with his torso and his head over his feet, causing him bad balance, there will be opportunities if Easter is patient to really clock this dude. And if he clocks this dude, and I think he has adequate power at 135. He's probably a 140-pound fighter if we're really going to be honest about it, given his height, his overall size. If he clocks this dude with enough shots, I think he's going to put some damage on him.
Same could be said with Javier though. Like it's not a guarantee that the fight can go late. You know what I mean? Like Easter does leave that chin up in the tree, and Javier Fortuna is not quick. I mean, he's not easy to time early, and his power has carried in every division somehow or another. And Easter Jr. with that chin up there, man, you get hit with shots you ain't seeing coming from under you. You could be hit with something that's puts you on the finish menu, but or just flat out finishes you right away. But yeah, definitely got to think if it goes late that Fortuna's gonna be the damn disaster he is. But it's a damn good disaster to watch.
If Easter fights on the back foot, he'll see everything Fortuna's going to throw.
That's the whole thing.
Because he punches so wide.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, though. We want Easter to use the attributes. We want him to turn in the performance that Leo Santa Cruz turned in against Santa Maris, where you finally saw Santa Cruz actually use his height and reach to his advantage. Easter has to learn to actually do that because, unfortunately, like we all mentioned, he makes fights a lot harder than it has to be because he chooses to fight the game plan of his opponent. Now, granted, that's a recipe for disaster when you do it against Javier Fortuna, but then again, you're going to have Fortuna waste his gas tank pretty early, so it could wind up being a disaster for Fortuna either way.
Indeed. Going to start to shut the show down on that note, read a couple of comments here from the chat before we sign off here. I see both from Truth and Facts, Gus and you Scorsese are having a kind of not passionate conversation here in the chat. Gus is basically saying that Easter is overhyped. And shame on him. Shame on Easter for fighting essentially a junior lightweight. Bo said Jason Sosa put Javier to sleep, and Easter Jr. definitely has the ability to do the same. He also says that Javier Fortuna can lose focus. But yeah, so does Easter, so hell, you can't really tell. Yeah, Gus is saying anyone with height and reach. He was asking what's the height and reach difference, excuse me. He's saying that Easter's kryptonite are straight punches. So yeah, that's the conversation going back and forth in the chat. Starting to shut the show down. Began the show with ladies first. We're going to end the show with ladies first. So Gail from Communities Digital News. For those who want to talk the sweet science or Dancing with the Stars, environmental issues, anything there and in between, let the folks know where they can find you.
Will do. First of all, to answer that question, Easter is 5'11", Fortuna is 5'6", 5-inch difference. Reach difference is a little shy of 5 inches. So yeah, Easter's got a lot more to play with. And we'll watch it all and we'll chat about it next week. For now, though, I can be found on Communities Digital News, which is COMM, C-O-M-M, Digi, D-I-G-I News, comdiginews.com. And your tip of the night, just to end, surprisingly, the word is that the Kovalev, Michelin, Bivol, Bavera fight is selling tickets at a surprisingly fast clip, faster than Kovalev's fight Thanksgiving weekend. Now, that's very interesting considering Wilder Ortiz has been announced, but I don't think those tickets are on sale yet. So looks like Kovalev and the Bivol Barrera undercard are headed for a sellout. Go figure.
That is interesting news. Scorsese, for those who want to talk the sweet science or anything else, let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yeah, my YouTube, low place hashtag MLPF, and on Twitter at damn it, I ain't done this in so long, I forgot it.
My
My
low place,
low
man. It's a
place.
damn shame I know your Twitter boy is better than you, man. It's a damn shame.
I ain't done it. I used to have it,
You
man.
can't forget your Twitter handle, man.
Come on.
At my low place. That's it.
Well,
At my
life
low
is
place.
rough,
All one
man.
word.
That is low.
Damn.
Going to Daniel from the Inscriber. For those who want to talk boxing or the NBA, specifically the Miami Heat, or for those who want to check you out, clap back at Conservative Fools on Twitter. Let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter, August99. I do my work for the Inscriber Digital Magazine. Like we were revamping a little bit of the page. And I'll first shout out because I also do my own show with the folks for Boxing News. Shout out to Joe. He's unfortunately a little bit sick at the moment. So unfortunately we weren't able to do a show this week, but hopefully we'll be able to catch on next week, be previewing a lot of series of fights because if you haven't looked at the schedule, it's getting filled up. Pretty much a lot of February and March is getting pretty crazy.
Yeah, a lot of bouts are going to happen February, March, and even into April. So, yeah, you're right about that. Jacob from Jab Hook. For those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk movies, let the folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Mike. And shout out to I know we shouted them out earlier, but Gus and Bo, our boxing brothers that usually here representing. But yeah, I can be found on Twitter at JRATM23. And yeah, if you want to talk boxing or movies, that's my bread and butter and my two passions. So yeah, hit me up there.
Again, as you just said, I want to thank Sean, thank Gus, regular on the show, as well as Gus from Corruption and Boxing, both from Truth and Facts Boxing, as well as Three Kings Boxing. Thanks them for being in the live show chat, YouTube chat. For those who want to talk boxing, for those who want to talk music, for those who want to talk fitness and whatnot. With me, you know what it is, Brother JR on Twitter at Brother JR76. As I said to begin the show, if you want to find out all things regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, blog page is the place to go to, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com. That is the link. If you want to check the right of the page to check out find the links for the pages on Facebook, Twitter, G Plus, Tumblr, YouTube. Also, check the right of the page to find the links where to listen to the show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Player FM, Stitcher Radio, as well as Mixcloud. And on the bottom right of the blog page, you can find a link to my online fitness site via beachbody.com. On the next episode, we will do a recap of Spence Peterson. We will do a recap of Easter Junior and Fortuna, and we will do a preview of Lucas Matisse, who's uh, uh, going to fight at Inglewood. Yeah, Inglewood at the Forum. I guess a fighter by the name of Kiram. On the undercard of that, Jorge Linares will defend his lightweight belt against Marcelo Gasta, and big important fights. The continuation of the cruiserweight tournament. Alexander Yusef fighting Bradis in Latvia. That's going to be on the same night. So we're going to talk about those bouts. So for Gail from Communities Digital News, for Scorsese, for Daniel, for Jacob. Again, thank Sean, thank Gus, thank Bo from Truth and Facts. I am your host, Michael. This has been episode 195 of the Pound for Pound Box Report. We will see you guys next time. Everyone have a good evening. Good night.
Good
Nighty
night.
night.